man. It is the weekend again. Thank
Yes.
goodness. We love it. We love the weekend and we love getting a little crazy with everybody. We're super excited about today's episode because we're deep diving into all of the things that were happening in the entertainment industry. I will say, this was a little bit of a slower week. Marvel started to release some stuff towards the end of the week, but it was also a lot of stuff that we already knew. So that
Yeah.
was also
Yeah.
interesting. But there was another person that came out of the woodwork attempting to make a bid for Paramount Global. So we're going to be talking all about that and some shows getting canceled and other things. But we're super excited, man. It's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. It always is when we get to dive in and some shady shit going on. Why can't people just be honest? Right? What am I talking about? You'll find out. Don't worry. And it might not be what you think, but it's sadly not the first time we've heard of something like it happening. So we'll dive deep into that too. Just, oh boy, this is going to be a ride.
It is, man. It is. And then our top five segment is going to be special for those filmmakers out there. So be sure to stay tuned for that. We're going to be giving you all of the nitty gritty tools that we think are very important to break into this entertainment industry. So stay tuned for the top five, but we're super excited about everything else. So let's get into it. Hello, everyone. So you want to start a podcast but have no idea where to start? Well, Crazy Ant Media is here to help you. We want to assist you finding your VFE. What's VFE, you ask? Well, that is your voice, your format, and your equipment. These are the three biggest essentials you need to start your podcast. All those hours watching nonstop YouTube videos or all those random website links, those are done. Just hop on a Zoom call with us and we'll talk about everything you need to know to create your own podcast and find your voice. Plus, we will send you home with a 12-page packet over everything we just discussed. It's very in-depth. It is definitely a must-need while trying to start your first podcast. Contact us at info@crazyantmedia.com today so that you can start finding your podcast voice for tomorrow. What's up, guys? Oh my goodness, episode 269. Next week's gonna be 270. Oh my goodness, man, it's wild.
I can't even believe we're even saying that. The idea that we're quickly 275 is going to be huge, but then the idea that 300 is right around the corner, like, wow, man.
Yeah.
It's just incredible that we've been able to do it for this long and that many shows and still have fun every single week. It's still the day I look forward to the most. If we're not making a movie, then Fridays is the day I look forward to the most with recording this show. So it's so crazy, bro. It's so crazy.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Oh,
But you
yeah.
guys know your host with the most, myself, J-Lo Fantastic, a.k.a. J. Logan Austin. Be sure to follow me. And, of course, the mouth at Crazy Ant CEO. Be sure to follow
What's
him. All the good
up?
things, man.
Yeah,
We're super
man.
excited.
Yeah.
Before going into the rest of the show, be sure to leave a rating on this podcast. Comment below and tell us what you actually think about the show. Because this podcast is for the entertainers trying to break into the entertainment industry, but also for those who just enjoy entertainment news. We love having that free-flowing conversation, man. It's going to be so freaking good. But before we dive into anything, be sure to head over to our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. We do have some new merchandise designs
Yes.
out right now, and we're very excited because we are partnered with teams like Adidas, freaking Under Armour, and so many others. It's very exciting. And
Hell yeah.
I looked on there earlier this week, and we no longer have just little teddy bears or little stuffed dogs. We have bunnies. We have a couple of different stuffed animals
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah.
be sure to check that out for those children. But we're super excited about everything like that. And we have full pajama sets, man.
I
come
mean,
on.
who doesn't want a full pajama set of Crazy Ant stuff? Yeah, no, the new designs are really awesome. It's especially, I really enjoy the stuff for the mental health podcast. Everything's okay. Some really great merch for that, and the filmmaker stuff. Definitely check. And if you guys are listening to this on Saturday or Sunday or Monday or what, 20% off. It might already be happening, or it might be coming up depending on when you're listening to this. But definitely go over there and check it out because that's a good deal.
It really is, man. It really is. And also, before diving into anything else, Everything's Okay podcast, our mental health podcast, just put out a new episode about trauma and some stuff that we've experienced before. So if you're not too busy a little bit later on in the weekend, be sure to check that out as well. And we're back. Oh my goodness, Dustin's coffee pot was about to explode.
That never good. Never good. I need my coffee, so we cannot have exploding coffee pots. That's not good.
Especially during the show. But I mean, maybe that would have been our most viewed episode. Who knows? You should have let it explode. I don't know.
Sure. Come on.
But I mean, speaking of explosions, we're talking about Disney first and foremost, and the explosion is they're bringing an outside committee. We've talked about this before in the past, but now we know who's leading the committee to find a successor for Bob Iger. And they're bringing the company, Morgan Stanley's former CEO, James Gorman, in to figure out who's going to be best. And I mean, we do know some internal CEO candidates for the Disney board is said to be considering basically all four of its division heads, like Disney Entertainment co-chairs Dana Walden, Alan Bergman, and then of course ESPN's chairman Jimmy Petrillo and Josh DeMero, and then of course the head of Disney Parks and Experiences Productions as well.
Yeah.
So we've known a little bit about, some of the people that they've had their eye on a little bit. We know what Dustin's pick is because we talked about that a little bit before, and you'll get your chance to plead your case. But I mean, it's very interesting too, because maybe this is what went wrong the first time around. Like maybe he was just so busy, so swarmed with trying to get Disney Plus off the ground, because that was the initial, first start. He was like, okay, once I get the streamer out of the gun, I am going to make my way and go out to the outfield and enjoy retirement. But then, of course, we saw how all of that went, and he picked the wrong person. But it's going to be very interesting to have an outside person come in and do it, just because, I mean, not having any relationships with these type of people or with these heads of each divisions, which I think is a gift and a curse, because I don't know. I feel like the amount of time and the amount of tenure that Bob Iger has and the relationship that he's built with these division heads, he can really gauge what type of people they are. But I mean, also, if you go back, and it didn't seem like Iger and Chapek ever really had a good relationship. I mean, when things were running, rocking and rolling at the parks, everything was fine. And I guess they were chummy, rubbing shoulders at that time. But then when you saw his true colors, Chapek's true colors, then that's when the void came out. That's for sure. But I think this is a good move to bring in somebody out of the company to try to figure out what's the best plan. And of course, Iger has his hands all over it, basically, right? Because I mean, he's going to be able to talk about each one of these division heads and their experience and what they also bring to the table. But I thought it was interesting that they didn't bring up any external candidates yet.
So,
they
are looking external as well. I guess it as just covering their asses legal wise. You have to look outside as well to say that it was.
Well, I was just saying, I was surprised they didn't say any names yet.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, from what I understand, though, even the outside people that are former Disney people. So outside, yes, and I should say, we should clarify that James Gorman, he is newly minted on the Disney board, so he is a board member, but day-to-day operations, he's not there. He's on the board and he's new, so like you said, there's not a relationship there. He doesn't know these people on a daily basis. He's not friends with them unless he's interacted with them on an outside basis. But he's basically coming in as a new board member with all these new people going, oh, okay, now I'm going to lead this committee. And that's the only name that was released on the committee. So we don't know if there's long-term board members that are a part of that committee, or is it stacked with the new board members like James himself that's like, oh, let's just get all these outsiders to try to make this decision. I will say one person that is on the committee is Iger himself, obviously.
Yeah.
And they've already said that he is now... All of these candidates that you named, Dana Walden, Alan Bergman, etc., they are going through grooming with Iger personally. He's taking them on, and they're all each spending time with him, going through, this is what I do as the CEO on a daily basis. This is what you would be responsible for. So before, like with Chapek, where I feel like maybe you were right, there was just no time, no blah, blah, we're just going to throw you in, and then we didn't really realize what we were getting when we threw you in.
Right.
These people will have an idea of what's expected, what goes on, and they're being groomed, if you will, for the eventual spot if one of these were to get them. My thought process on it is, while I don't discount Jimmy Pitaro from ESPN, I'm not trying to take away anything from ESPN. That is a huge thing. It's a huge revenue driver for Disney, has been for a very long time. The guy is very experienced in what he does there. And I'm going to say the same thing for Josh D'Amaro, head of the parks. But we saw the disaster that Chapek was, being the head of the parks and then trying to be the head of the company. It's just two totally different ball games. It just is. So in my opinion, it should be either Dana Walden or Alan Bergman, because running the film studios, running Walt Disney Studios, which also means you're over Pixar, you're over Marvel Studios, you're over Walt Disney Animation. It is the closest thing that resembles actually running the whole company. You have the daily decisions and the processes that you make when you're running the film studio echo, in part, the same type things that you would be making decisions on when you're running the company. So I just feel like it's like a senator running for president as opposed to somebody who's never served office before, right? You might be a great businessman, but if you've never served in political office before, you don't know how it works. So I just feel like Dana Walden and Alan Bergman know how it works, and could be easily transitioned in. That said, I love Alan Bergman, but he's a little bit up there, and he's said a few times that maybe his tenure isn't too much longer. Hence the co-chairs. I really think that's why that decision was made. But Dana's rocking and rolling. The work that she's done since she was brought to Disney after the merger of 20th Century Fox, because that's where she came from, if anybody doesn't know, and she ran that very successfully. She's turned around Disney Television first, and now she's the head co-chair of, Disney Entertainment. But at first she was brought into the television division, and she's the one who took a chance on Dopesick, right, with Danny Strong. She's the one that turned around FX and started putting these like hardcore shows on there. Like, whoa, what are we doing? She's got a proven track record. And here's the most important thing, because you and I talk about this all the time, and we've seen it when it goes wrong. David Zaslav at Warner Brothers. She has relationships with talent. Talent likes her. Now, if you're going to be a suit running the most iconic studio in Hollywood, you have to have the talent like you to get deals done. And she has those relationships. It just seems to me, and like you said, kind of poking fun at me, and I've said it numerous times, it just seems like she's the smartest choice. Especially if Iger grooms her over the next several months to get her prepared for stuff she might not be ready for, but have her ready for before the full transition. It just makes sense to me. This just makes sense to me. And it looks very, very that we might have the first female president of the United States. So it only makes sense that we should have the first female CEO of Disney. It's time. After 100 years, come on. And forget it. I'm not trying to say, let's just put a woman in. Let's be, politically correct, blah, blah, blah. She's the most qualified, in my opinion. She just, out of all of the people, she seems to be the one most capable of taking over the company and continuing to further it forward with those family values and with the vision that they have. That's just my opinion, but I'm all for Dana.
Yeah, and I'm looking up her age right now. She's currently 59 years old.
Yeah.
So, if the trajectory keeps moving forward, she could serve for a good 20 years.
Oh,
I feel like, because, right now, Iger is 73. So you see the tenure and the longevity that some of these CEOs have had. Because, Disney's only had, like, two handfuls of CEOs.
So Walton Roy, and then you had his son-in-law, The name escapes me off the top of my head, right off the top. But yeah, and then you had after the son-in-law, you had Eisner and Frank Wells, and then just Eisner, and then you had Iger. So yeah, it's probably a handful, just a handful.
Yeah.
Of
So I mean, this is a company that is built on these close, tight-knit relationships.
Yeah.
And I mean, we see the importance of just being a likable person. I think that's the biggest thing. I definitely think she is the most out there when it comes to presence in the media.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a huge plus because we see how popular Iger is, and he's a very likable person. So I think that is definitely a key factor in one of the key factors, I should say, in picking the next person, because you just have to, if you're in charge of the biggest family friendly content overall just mecca that is Disney, you have to be a likable person.
Yeah,
Right. I
yeah.
mean, I just recently listened to something, I forget what it was, but I recently listened to something about Bob Chapek taking his kids to, it was either Disney World or Disneyland, and he was told that, we want to get pictures with you, shaking hands with people, meeting people, doing that type of thing. And he didn't want to do that
Yeah,
at all.
yeah,
He's
no.
a very reserved person. There's nothing wrong with being a reserved person. There's nothing wrong with not being a people person. But if you're in that job, in that specific company, you have to do what you have to do. You know what you signed up for, especially the amount of time that he was at the parks. Like, that was your bread and butter for so long.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just felt like that was crazy.
No, you're literally the face of the company next to Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that nobody would really argue that Mickey Mouse / Walt Disney is probably the single most recognized iconic brand in the world. Maybe some people would argue Coke or the Superman insignia or whatever. But Disney / Mickey Mouse is probably the most iconic and most recognized brand in the world. So it's a face. And if you're the head of that company, like it or not, you are a face. There's a reason why you saw Eisner hosting Sunday night, Walt Disney World Sunday night programming. There's a reason why you saw Iger and Eisner always in pictures with Pluto and Mickey, and because they understand that they too now are the face. You have to be a lovable character with these lovable characters, because that's what you're doing. But you also have to be stern, hold your ground, and make solid decisions. And the one thing that I like about Dana is the one thing that I really like about Iger as well. He owns when he does something wrong. Yeah. He owned it. I mean, he's faced a little controversy over the past year or so, saying some stuff or whatever, but he's the first to admit that the succession plan the first time around, he did wrong. It wasn't the way it should have been done. He made mistakes. When he was still there, he was very hands-off of Chapek when he should have been more hands-on with Chapek. He acknowledges that was a mistake, and that maybe some things, So I really feel like if you're going to be the head person, you've got to have confidence. You got to be a little cocky. You got to be able to handle your shit and be stern when you know you're right. But you also have to have that ability to go, I was wrong. I made a mistake. Yeah. Let's return course and go. And I think Dana she had some controversy with Fox with the whole Bones and the payroll and like all this. Yeah. And she admitted to mistakes that were made, but stuck stern to what she also knew was right, and ended up coming out on top with all that. And I think that's just a good mix of, you need that, and I think she has that. So we're gonna keep an eye on this, because obviously everybody is concerned about this time around not having it be another Chapek situation. So this one is gonna be really fun and I don't know if you saw, but Iger was publicly being interviewed, and he said he's ready to go to the ballpark. He's ready this time to just go away and enjoy the rest of his life in silence. So my man is definitely ready to walk away now. And this is going to be fun. We'll just keep an eye on it.
For sure. Well, I mean, speaking of walking away from things, sadly, Lucasfilm, they are not moving forward with The Acolyte for season 2. It was canceled after one season, and we did see one of the stars, Lee Jung-jae. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. He came out and he said he was surprised by that. I'm honestly not surprised by that because of all the hate and negativity that it got, but I think there is a positive in the shit show that is Lucasfilm right now. There have been multiple other Star Wars television projects that haven't had any word about whether or not they're coming back yet, like the series. That's the most important one. We already know that Andor is working on season 2, and that's the highest rated, whatever. But I'm super excited about that because there's possibilities there. Because I mean, if they full out came out and said, we're canceling this, we're not moving forward, the fans just didn't like it. Okay, cool. Wipe your hands with it, wipe it clean. But with their super fan service stuff, fan service content, like kind of what we were talking about with the Frozen, Tarzan, all of that stuff, because Disney likes to service their fans. That's what they're in business for. But I mean, I just think that there's possibilities for multiple seasons for different projects that are coming out of Lucasfilm. I don't think Boba Fett, because that was very set up for Mandalorian season 3. And that kind of just told the story about where Boba Fett was. But yeah, I think there's possibility for another Obi-Wan Kenobi season. So I'm very excited about that.
And so see, and this is my issue, and maybe I'm just going to take some heat for this, and that's fine. But this is an instance where I think that Lucasfilm and Disney are making a mistake servicing the fans. Yeah. It seems to me that the fan base for Star Wars has become so adamant upon the fact that if it does not involve the Skywalkers, it doesn't need to exist. And that's driving me crazy. The ones that we've seen with any success are revolving still around the Skywalker saga. There's a chance that the Skywalkers will pop up in them, or there's history with the Skywalkers. That's true in The Mandalorian. It's true in Obi-Wan Kenobi. But what these fans have to understand is the rebellion just wasn't the Skywalkers. The rebellion was a whole bunch of people all across the galaxy, and there were so many other stories and so many other things happening that you have to let go of the Skywalker saga and understand, let the universe expand. Tell the stories of the other people. And this one especially, there's always been a question about why was it potentially so easy to convert Jedis to the dark side. There was always a darkness to the Jedis. This series was showing you that. They were doing some twisted shit. They weren't asking for kids to join. They were saying, if you don't want them to, we're going to take them anyway. There was some dark shit going on with the Jedis. They were lying to the council. They were like, the dark side was always, they were maybe questionable. And there were some points when you thought maybe, if you go back and you really watch Empire Strikes Back and the kind of stuff that they were doing with, you almost felt like maybe the Empire wasn't the bad guy. Maybe, so they were walking that line, and I think there's so much more to explore with that. Who is the bad guy and the good guy? What causes this rift between the Jedi and the Sith? And where does that go? And the idea that the fans just cannot let go of the Skywalker saga, I think it hurts Lucasfilm, because I think there's just so much more to tell there. And I don't know. It is my sincerest hope that at some point the fans go, okay, let's see a show that has nothing to do with the Skywalkers that we like. I liked Acolyte. I thought it was really well done. And I was loving the back and forth between, we're getting a little gritty with the Jedi. We're kind of getting here. I liked it. So I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed that it's not continuing, but you're right. They're full fan service, and sometimes that's a good thing, and unfortunately for us that are willing to go outside, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm looking on IMDb right now of the whole season, and the highest ranking episode is 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yeah,
which is crazy, because I mean, a lot of their episodes don't even break the 5 threshold. There are a lot of 4s. There's a 3. Like, it's super sad, and I mean, yeah, I think Lucasfilm needs to take the approach of telling stories from characters that were in those films. like a Mace Windu. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson has been talking about wanting to come back as Mace Windu,
Right.
or like a Padme prequel, or like, how did she become, Princess Amidala? All of these different things, I think, that are in the same vein, but aren't necessarily the Skywalkers, if that makes sense. Because, I mean, you're right, because we see it a lot with Marvel fans, too. We're not going to lie about it. I mean, there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of criticism, but the only difference is right now is that Star Wars is strictly television. It's not theatrical. No matter what, Marvel fans are still going to see the movies in the theaters.
Yeah.
So it still looks really good, even though they're slamming it on the internet. But right now, all the television for Lucasfilm is getting slammed on the internet, and that's all they see. They don't see the box office numbers. So I think that's a huge thing holding Star Wars franchises back.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because when Rey's new film comes out,
yeah,
I would assume the storyline is going to push it away from Skywalker because, as we found out, whether people liked it or not, she's not a Skywalker, and
exactly.
That's going to go. Here's a Jedi that is not a Skywalker, and we're going to continue to tell her story. It's going to be really interesting to see if fans go for it or not, or if they're going to be like, "Fuck that, she's a Skywalker, and you need to fix it." Blah 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 blah. And to your point with Marvel, the fan reaction when, well, he can't be Doctor Doom, he's Iron Man. He can't be, you can't do that, exactly. You can't. And I'm like, my argument to that, and I was literally having this conversation the other day, is like, and the argument is they claim they're diehard comic book fans. They're not sticking to the comic books. It's got to be comic book accurate. If you're a fucking diehard comic book fan, then you're all in on changes like this. Because in the comic books, different writers and artists take over the books every so often, and they'll change the origin, or they'll change the look, or they'll change a character's background story, or they do it all the time. Frank Miller's Batman.
That's why you have the multiverse.
Exactly. And if you look at Frank Miller's Batman is not the same as John Byrne's Batman, and vice versa, right? And it works in the comic books, so why can that not be an accurate thing in the film side of it for both Star Wars and Marvel? Just understand that creators are creators, and they're going to make some changes, they're going to take some liberties, and it's okay. I mean, you can still be comic book accurate and make some changes. I'm just saying. And sometimes it's so popular that it reverses. For instance, Nick Fury becoming a black man in the comic books because Samuel L. Jackson was, think about that. And then, or Harley Quinn, who wasn't even in the comic books and was specifically created for Batman the Animated Series, but went over so well, she's now in comic book lore and a huge character in the comic books. You can't have it both ways, and that's all I'm saying. So for Star Wars and for even Pixar, could you imagine if they do any variation from Frozen? If they take it in a direction that they don't want, or The Incredibles in a direction that they don't want? Are we going to see the same type Heat? It's just have some creative liberty. Just enjoy the stories. You love Star Wars. Love Star Wars. You love Marvel. Love Marvel. There's nothing wrong with yeah, man, this is interesting. This is, but I'm kind of pissed because I wanted to see the continued story of Acolyte. That's all I'm saying. Right? I wanted to keep going with the story there. I don't know.
I know. It is crazy. It is crazy. But I mean, speaking of crazy, we're heading over to Paramount, and we're going to be talking all about the business side of the merger. And Skydance maybe still has their foot in the game, but they have this other person trying to swoop in and take it out from underneath them. That's right. Of course, we've been talking about the shopping period, somebody wanting to overbid on Skydance, but they're also going to have to pay a hefty price if they do. So that's going to be very interesting. But we're talking about Edgar Bronfman. He boosts his offer to $6 billion for Paramount Global and National Amusements. But he is talking about the big thing is interesting. This is very interesting. He is outwardly saying that he is very open to having Sherry Redstone a part of the company in a non-executive role. Yeah. And I mean, Skydance people, David Ellison hinted at that, but he didn't outwardly say it because, deals are going on. You can't show all of your hand before the cards are dealt. But I feel like this is very interesting because he really came out of nowhere. Like I wasn't paying attention to anything he was doing, so this is new to me. But yeah, I just thought that was very interesting that he's outwardly saying he wants Sherry, is very open to Sherry, I should say, being a part of it still.
Yeah. He was there very early and then disappeared. So he kind of like sneaks back in and for anybody who doesn't know, there was like a window for this go shopping period that was going to expire. And if they were going to execute the go shopping clause, they only had till a certain period of time to do it. And they waited right up. They agreed to talk to Edgar right up before midnight of the deadline. It was like a last second decision to go, hey, we're gonna use this clause in the contract and we're gonna allow this conversation to happen right up to the deadline. And this just says to me that Sherry is concerned about money and money only. Not the history of this company, not what this company stands for, not the legacy, nothing. It's about, they're offering $1 billion more than you guys are. And what concerns me is not only that he said he's openly willing to have her stay on board in whatever capacity, he's not openly saying that he's willing to keep Paramount intact. He's not willing to say that it's all about saving the studio, which has me extremely concerned. Because if this guy's all about the money, then he could just sell it all up, chop it up, and move on. And that's the one thing about Skydance that we know. Ellison is very adamant about. It's all about saving Paramount and keeping Paramount intact. And I did see that they now are urging Sherry to stop the conversation with Edgar and are even going so far as to say we might pull our deal. We might walk away if you continue to talk to them. And if they walk away, they don't get that $500 million. They don't get that $500 million because they would be initiating the walkaway. It's only if Sherry walks away from the deal that they have to pay Skydance the $500 million. So they're willing to, at this point, looks like, at least threatening, to walk away from the merger and the $500 million. That should tell.
Which is so sad because, I heard a conversation with Ellison and he was super excited about it. You can tell the passion of his voice. He is a creative CEO. He's a creative suit. Yes. Like we are.
Yeah.
So, to hear that passion in his voice to talk about what he wanted to do moving forward, and then this happened and Sherry entertaining it, this is what we're talking about with bad things happening to family companies who don't care about the family aspect anymore. Yeah. That they only care about the money. It's so horrible.
It is. And passion, you nailed it right on the head. Skydance is a production company, guys. It's all about making movies. They have a deal in place with Paramount long term. They've helped make movies with Paramount. He understands the legacy of that studio and what it means and what it represents. And he wants to save that. He's not saying he's going to fully chop off this or chop off that, but his goal is to save that and continue fostering that relationship and that legacy. And to me, that should be the most important thing. When you're that fucking rich, what's $1 billion? It's nothing in the drop of it when you really think about it. She doesn't need that. She doesn't need to entertain the $1 billion more. And the shareholders probably don't give a shit either. I know that they're concerned about you have to do your due diligence with the shareholders. You have to present that this might be a better offer, blah, blah, blah. But long term, this is not a better deal for the shareholders. It's just not. It's a better deal short term for her pocketbook. And that's just, I think that she needs to walk away from this. I think she just needs to, if she shook that hand, bro, if she made that deal in good faith and he made it in good faith, she just needs to follow through with that and walk away. Go off into the sunset and do whatever the fuck you want to do. But in good faith, follow through with this deal and let the legacy of Paramount and Paramount Studios and all that it is survive. Because, and sadly, how many times have we seen this with Paramount? right? If you watched The Offer and The Making of The Godfather, part of that storyline wasn't just the making of The Godfather. It was the corporate company that owned Paramount at that point threatening to get rid of Bob Evans and threatening that if Godfather didn't work, everybody was fired and they were going to sell off the company because they didn't want to own a studio anymore. And Paramount has seen this happen with these parent companies that come in and buy them and don't give a shit about the legacy of the company and are just... And I would like to just finally see this historic studio in the hands of somebody that actually respects the fact that it's a historic studio and that it's making movies, because that's what it's supposed to do, is make movies. And just, that's all I'm saying, man. I best wishes that David and Skydance just get this done, because I think it would be a huge mistake if it doesn't happen. I just really do.
Agreed. And I mean, to give everybody a little bit more backstory on Edgar Rothman's history, he used to be a CEO at Warner Brothers Music Group from 2004 to 2011. And then he served as its chairman from 2011 to 2012. He is now a chairperson on the board, basically, for Fubo. So, I mean, this guy has money. Obviously, if you sit on boards, you have money. So, yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting process. And he has experience in the entertainment industry, but he's not like the type of person who you want. He's like a Zaslav, basically.
Yeah, well, I'm curious. When was he chairman of Warner Brothers? Was he the chairman of the board when they allowed that merger to happen with Zaslav?
No, 2011 to 2012.
Okay, because that would say everything about the guy doesn't give a shit about legacy of studios or companies, right? Like, and I just feel like, even if you go back, though, I bet if you go back and you look at the tenure that he was chairman, the studio was probably not doing well, right? Yeah, I just feel like this is a guy who's not interested in the legacy of. I just feel like if you get rid of the Warner Brothers, if you get rid of Disney, if you get rid of Paramount, we've already seen the chop up of 20th Century. We've already seen the acquisition of MGM. We're seeing all these studios die and swallowed up. And if the three that are really left are the biggies. Paramount, Warner Brothers, and Disney are the biggies that are left. And out of remember, back in the day, it was five. The big five. Well, at one point with RKO, it was big six. But they're the only surviving ones, and it just seems like everybody's gunning for them. It's just like, don't let this happen, man. Disney, I feels like safe. I feel like they're okay for now. But Warner Brothers and Paramount, every day we're wondering, will they still be existing by the time we wake up tomorrow? That's the thing that we have to sit there and look at, and I got to admit, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll let you start off this next one because I know you're following it closer than I am. I've seen some stuff on TikTok and things like that, but I definitely think that all of this is going to affect if a sequel or not, whether or not happens. So I'm betting it won't.
Yeah. So initially, remember we talked about it last week. We're jumping over to Sony, guys, and talking about It Ends With Us. We were talking about would all the negativity affect the box office. It didn't. Still did a pretty good box office this past week, and we'll tell you the numbers a little later on. But it's interesting that the shift. It started off with Justin Baldoni, the director and the lead actor, getting all of the heat. He was taking a lot of shit, talking about it was a toxic set, and there were issues between him and Blake, and the cast wasn't talking to him, and he hired a PR spin doctor to try to get himself out of the trouble, a crisis, PR person. And now I'm not saying that his crisis manager, PR person, is responsible for what happened, but there was a shift, and the negativity quickly shifted to Blake Lively and the women of the film. And they were being attacked and saying, oh, they're not as nice as you think they are, and they're this and that and this and that. And wow, now it's just a back and forth. Blake Lively's a bitch. Well, Justin Baldoni's a predator, and blah, 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 blah. And finally, Brandon Skelner, who, if you guys have seen the movie, if you're anything, he played Atlas, the other guy in the film, the good guy in the film.
The good guy.
He basically did this long post on Instagram coming to the defense of Blake Lively and all of the women, and then also coming to the defense of the film, saying this is doing nothing but putting toxicity out in the world, and it is causing people to not get the point of the film. The point of this film was to address domestic violence and what it does in relationships and what it does to women and what kind of this and that. And you're taking away all of what this film was meant to be, which was meant to be a way to discuss this issue and move forward with these things. And you're tarnishing that because nobody's talking about that anymore. You're talking about what happened this or what happened that, and you're missing the message of the film. It was supposed to be a powerful message in a good way to shine light on domestic violence. And now it is becoming this toxic thing of back and forth between what happened behind the scenes. And he said basically he's tired of it. That as a member of the film, he's proud of the film, he's proud of the message of the film, and he wishes it would shift back to that being the focus instead of all the other bullshit. And I'm right there with him. This is a very powerful film, and I don't know if there was legit tension there or not, but it was done beautifully in my opinion. What we see on screen is done well. And it makes you feel, and it conveys the message in a way that makes you think about domestic violence and what is and what is not and how it can affect lives. And that should be the focus. And shame on Sony for not putting an end to the shit. Like get your asses together, fucking stop this shit, and just talk about the film, because they should be out there talking about the film. They should be running commercials with the message of the film every day to counteract what's going on behind the scenes. And they're missing an opportunity to do that. And I think that this is one of those instances where Iger says sometimes the company has to make a statement politically or in the real world about a subject. I feel this is Sony's opportunity to make such a statement. To say this is not about the behind the scenes drama. This is about the message of domestic violence and what this film was meant for and why we agreed to make this film. And the fact that they are not doing that, I have a problem with that. I think this is one of the instances where the CEO really needs to step up and say, hey, we got to get back on track. Let's promote the film and talk about what the film is. And don't worry about what it is not. And so, but kudos to him for having the courage to make that post and come out and basically say, hey, all y'all need to stop the fuck and just get on with it and move on with the film. You know? So...
Yeah, because I mean, literally since the opening weekend, that's all you've been hearing about is the behind-the-scene drama. You don't even talk about the actual film, which is super sad because it was a phenomenal book. I mean, it was cult classic. People loved it. New York Times bestseller.
Yeah.
But yeah, all you're hearing about is this behind-the-scenes drama, which is super unfortunate because, like you said, it's a great film.
And I can tell you, my audience that I watched it with were speechless. Jaws were dropped. There was a lot of emotion in my theater. It's a very powerful film. Men and women, I saw couples embracing each other. Like you could tell that this is a good man embracing his wife or his girlfriend because he's not that guy. Have I ever been that way to you? Have I ever made you feel threatened or in danger? You could see the emotion of these people. Because as a guy, I sat there also and said, God, have I ever said something like that came across the wrong way to where somebody would have interpreted that I meant something that I didn't mean? Because sometimes it is something innocent that you're not even realizing that you... But my point is that the emotion of the film and how it connects with the audience is being lost in this drama. And they need to get back to that because it's such a good film. Woo! Anyway, this... Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
It is.
What we're going through in society, what's in the news, what's especially on social media with surrounding the entertainment industry. I mean, the negativity goes further than the positivity. That's for sure. Because, I mean, everybody has an input in it, and then it just keeps going and going and going and going. So it's just, it sucks, man. It sucks. Well, this next one is very interesting, and I know they actually just came out with a story recently over the last couple days that they parted ways with their marketing person for this film. And we're talking about Megalopolis.
Yes, Megalopolis.
Megalopolis, Lionsgate. They pulled the trailer offline due to made-up critic quotes, and they issue an apology saying they screwed up. Now, I've seen some people come out and say that they were AI generated, which, I mean, makes sense. But, I mean, why would you do this? This is what we're talking about when it comes to, or when we're talking about lying to the fans about things that you should just be getting them excited for. Like,
Yeah.
are you trying to use these fake quotes for this film that, I mean, was really teeter-tottering whether or not people wanted to see it or
Yeah,
not? We
because it's
remember
weird.
that it took a lot of time for this film to get distribution. For those who don't know, Adam Driver is leading the thing with Francis Ford Coppola behind it, basically putting a lot of money, his own money, into this project. But yeah, coming up with fake quotes from famous movie critics, not just
Yeah, yeah.
random fake
You
names, but
can't just,
actual
yeah.
famous movie critics and saying that, the film is amazing, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, this is the true meaning of deception. And I mean, I'm honestly kind of surprised that there's no legal action going towards that marketing person.
Yeah, and look, to be fair, this is not the first time that somebody has put out a fake review of this movie's
Yeah.
awesome kind of thing. It happens frequently, but not like this. Not on this level
this
where
is
not a
different.
single thing is true. Like everything is made up. I'm going to say the story that we were just talking about, and I said the responsibility that I thought that Sony had to make a statement and insert themselves into that what was going on. I think this is Lionsgate attempting to do that and miserably failing. For anybody who doesn't know, there was a lot of bad press going on behind the scenes with this film recently about targeting Francis Ford Coppola, saying that he was inappropriate with women on the set and that it was a toxic set. And I think that they were trying to divert all attention away from that and get it back to, this is an amazing film and you've got to see it. Let's not talk about all this shit behind the scenes. Well, this is not the way you do that. This was a failed attempt to divert attention back to the film. I get the point, but you got to be a little. Show it to these real critics and let
Literally,
them. Just like, I don't understand. Why would you? And at least to be smart enough to fucking use a fake name. What?
Yeah,
To
right.
use
Like,
a real critic, as if that critic's not going to come out and say, I didn't say that shit. I haven't even seen the movie or what. Like, I didn't see them, but like, what? Do we have Siskel and Ebert up there? Like, they're both fucking dead. Like, how?
Right.
The idea of that you're using real critics to promote something that isn't even true is just mind-boggling to me. It's insane. Yeah, you got to be smarter. Now, to their credit, as we were talking about way back up when we were talking about CEOs for Disney and all, you got to own it when you fuck up. To their credit, they owned it. They said, we screwed up. We should have known about this, but we didn't know about it. And when we found out about it, we took it down. Okay, good. But, do better. That's all I'm saying. Just do better.
That's it.
Just do better.
Goodness.
I just like
This next one's very interesting because I'm excited to see this film. It
Me
looks
too.
absolutely wild. Zoe Kravitz directed Blink Twice, which used to be called, what was it called?
Pussy Island.
Pussy Island.
Yeah.
That's right.
I can see the name change.
Yeah, you see the name change. But and of course, she issued a trigger warning for sexual violence and mature themes ahead of its release. If you haven't read the description, if you haven't seen the trailer, duh. I mean, I really think it's inspired by Epstein's Island because it's very much that type of mature theme and like that type of stuff. And I mean, it looks like a lot. So you have to be mentally prepared to go into this thing. But especially, I think, I'm not gonna lie, I think the end, it ends with us drama about all of that stuff happening. I bet it also kind of pushed her in this direction to come out with the
give
trigger
the warning.
warning.
Yeah. I mean, for anybody who doesn't know, or I think even your generation and maybe even a little younger understand, Blink Twice. The significance of the name change is Blink Twice is a standard across the whole world that if you're in trouble, it's a silent signal that you're in trouble. Blink twice to alert somebody you're in trouble. That's because this film deals heavily with not just physical violence, but rough, violating physical sex. And apparently it's very violent sex. And so they're letting people know prior to walking into this thing that you are going to see brutal rapes and you are going to see unconsensual sex and you are going to see violence and it's going to be hard to watch. And Yeah, I'm right there with
I mean,
you.
it really makes you
certainly-
wonder, like, what CEO, what head of the entertainment industry is just like, that sounds great. Let's
Well,
greenlight that.
I'm hoping that it has some sort of relevant. And it's funny that
Message,
I'm
like,
saying, because I say I hate all the time, films should just entertain and it shouldn't push an agenda. I'm all
Yeah.
for a message. I'm all for, like with our gun violence film and the one that we made now. But we didn't try to push our agenda or push our opinions. We just put it out there. So I'm hoping that this movie at least puts it out there for the conversation, and it isn't just random crazy shit happening, because then, yeah, I'm right there with you. Why would you greenlight something like that? But that said, Zoe Kravitz is extremely intelligent, and she's a very smart creative, and this is her directorial debut, and I feel like this was approached in a manner where she had something to say, and this is what, and so I feel like this will be a very well done film that might be hard to watch. And so but I wish nothing but huge success for her. Because I think she's got a massively bright future behind the camera as well as in front, and I hope this works for her. And I will say that I guess it wasn't very toxic on set, because as you guys know, her and Channing, who Channing stars in it, they're together now. They're engaged, and they, from what I understand, that relationship fostered during the making of this, and kind of, so it must have been an okay set. It must have been like, we're doing all this violent, crazy shit, but we're gonna fall in love. I mean, the set must have been okay, which means to me that she took great care on a set that's dealing with this type of stuff to foster a comfortable environment, right? So. If that says anything, and the fact that, like you said, both her and the studio are saying, we got to put this warning out there because we're a little nervous that people will walk in and get hit with it unexpected. So, we'll see. I'm watching it though. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm all in on watching it. I think it's gonna be great. And yeah, kudos to the marketing, because I don't know how you market Pussy Island.
Yeah.
That's other than calling it Epstein, right? I mean, because the name Pussy Island would clearly, we're going to invite women out here under the guise of it's a getaway at a luxury island and blah, and then we're going to rape the shit out of them. Like, I don't know how any other way to describe it in the Epstein era than that. And so, that's good. Woo, it's going to be interesting. Kudos to her for having the courage to make it. Yeah, that's all. That's because this is going to go either one of two ways. She's going to get praised for it, or she's going to get blackballed for it. And so kudos to her for taking the chance.
It does take strength, that's for sure. Well, since we have a little bit more time, not to go back to a different one, but I mean, I'm just scouring the trades just to see what other interesting things are out there. And we'll talk about the trades a little bit later in our top 5. But James Spader to reprise his role as Ultron in the Marvel's Vision series. I think that's pretty cool. I think, I mean, obviously Ultron and Vision, they're like hand in hand.
They're brothers. They're literally spawned from each other.
But I mean, I think this is interesting too, because I mean, I feel like you can have a White Vision series without Ultron, but I think Marvel saw that Age of Ultron, I think, was by far the worst Avengers movie. So maybe they're trying to redo that a little bit because they want to make it a little bit better so that you don't throw so much crap on the Ultron name, because I think he's a very interesting character.
Oh, without doubt.
The villain.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm kind of excited for this, for the series. So, yeah, I'm pumped.
Well, and I have to imagine that this series is also going to tie in Wonder Man, because for anybody who doesn't know, Wonder Man is he's related with Vision and Wanda, and there's a point where all that kind of crosses over as well. So I'm thinking this is going to be the launch also for Wonder Man. But I'm with you. Ultron has always been a very interesting character, and they varied a little bit from the comic book on how Ultron, but the sense of where it comes from, that he was an extension of, they went with Jarvis, right? But he's always been an extension of Vision. They've always been that they're connected. They are the same operating
system.
I think that there is a whole lot more that they can go with that character to try to redeem him a little bit, because like you said, even the villains have to have something good to have the audience. And I feel like they did miss that opportunity with Ultron. I'm right there with you. I feel like there's some redeeming quality probably to Ultron that we could see in this series that would make us kind of feel for him a little bit more. And I'm excited to see where they go with it. I really am. And yeah, I when they first announced White Vision, I was like thrilled because that story is also a very interesting story, which also, by the way, White Vision, Young Avengers. I am a comic book geek. Oh, I'm sorry, but that ties into there too, and we know that's coming as well. So it's just all connected. I'm excited though. Yeah, Ultron and James Spader. Who doesn't fucking love James Spader? I mean,
great actor.
Come on, man.
Amazing talent. But if you're a talent out there, whether that be a writer, producer, actor, anything in the entertainment industry, this is the time for you. We teased it a little bit earlier. The top 5 this week is top 5 entertainment tools that will definitely help you get a long way in the entertainment industry. And it's a very interesting one because we haven't done anything like this before specifically, but
No.
I mean, think about it. We've learned so many things through trial and tribulation, like our 6-7 years doing this, that it's good to pass along that piece of advice and that knowledge to help others break into the entertainment industry, because that's what Crazy Ant Media is all about, right?
Yes, exactly right. And this one is fun because there are so many tools that I don't feel are utilized enough. And so for us to be able to share some of the stuff that we use on a daily basis to run our media company, I think this is going to be really fun. And you pitched it over to me, so I guess I'll start. My number 5. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, you're shoving it over to me first. This is new. I love it. Okay, my number 5 is as a filmmaker, and you'll hear all of the classics. You'll hear the Bogdanoviches and the Scorseses and the Spielbergs, and they'll all say this. If you want to be a filmmaker, watch films. Plain and simple. So my number 5 is movie theaters and streamers. Because if you want to be a filmmaker, you need to watch movies. And whether that's on streaming or at the movie theaters or what, it's all about watching movies. It's all about being inspired by stories. It's all about learning. You can learn different techniques. We always talk about we're going to use this camera shot, or we're going to try this camera angle, or we're going to, let's tone the color scheme here to make it this. We learn that by watching movies. Like, did you see the shot and such? Let's try that. Or let's vary it. Let's try it, but with a twist. That comes from watching movies and getting inspired. So my number 5 is going to the movies and or watching films on. There's so many hidden gems on the streamers. Just look it up. Google hidden gems on Apple or on Netflix, and they all come up. And I have seen so many films that you likely have never even heard about, but they've got big name stars in them, and they're just like brilliant films. And I'm just like, damn, that's good. Damn. So I highly recommend, if you're trying to break in this industry on the side of being a director and being a filmmaker, go to the movies. Watch movies on streamers. That's it. That's my piece. Number 5.
It's so funny, man. So funny. Yeah, number 5 for me goes to social media, because you kind of are your own brand nowadays. So it's good to get yourself out there and, show the behind the scenes work of what it means to be an actor, an actress, a filmmaker in the development phase, in the pre-production, production, all of these different aspects, so that people kind of know what to expect when they're finally on a film set, when they're in that editing bay, when they're trying to crew up for their film, like all of these different things. So you'll be able to network a lot through social media.
Yes.
Now there's millions and millions and millions of people on social media, so it is very hard to try to break through on that, but everything happens for a reason. So if you connect yourself with the right people, it's like going fishing. You're trying to find that one fish that will help you put food on the table, that will help you in the long run, to where you can continue to keep doing this. And you'll learn from so many other people too on social media about certain things. So I think that is very, very important. So yeah, my number 5 for me, social media.
I would echo. I agree with you on everything you just said, which is why it's my number 4, social media. And I just want to expand a little bit about what you said with the networking. It's changed the game with networking. It really has. Back in the day, it was all about, unless you had IMDb Pro or access to the list of agents or publicists or whatever, you had no way to contact anybody. And even if you did have access to those names, 99.9% of the time, they don't respond to you anyway. So social media has definitely changed that, because you can slide into the DM of a producer. You can slide into the DM of a star, and you'd be surprised at how often you will get a response, because we talk about this all the time. It is a very small community. Everybody knows everybody. And while we have some people that have those egos and tarnish the image of Hollywood with bad stories, the vast majority of the industry are good people. Just everyday people, 9 to 5, kind of, this is my job, then I go home and do my kind of a thing. They'll talk to you. They're just like normal people. So take your shot if you want to, and you might be surprised. So yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that, because it really has changed the game of networking by expanding the means of reaching those people. Right? And now be smart about it. Be polite. Be nice about it. Don't like slide in with obscene stuff or pervasive stuff, or like begging to work with them, or kind of be smart about it. Have a conversation like you would have a conversation with anybody that you meet on the street.
That's
just
it, yeah.
Kind of a thing. Just be a normal person, and I bet you're likely to get a response from a normal person. So just that's my advice for that. But yeah, I love that you put it on there, and like I said, that's why I wanted to put it on there too, because it's been a game changer for us. It really has. The connections that we've been able to make, and the relationships that we've been facilitated through first reaching out on social media is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So
yeah, some of our biggest guests on the podcast came from social media.
Absolutely. And now friends. We have relationships and friendships with people that we fostered that first connection on social media. So, I mean, it's just take a shot.
Take a shot.
Take a shot.
Well, my number 4 goes to, I know it's weird because you reversed it.
I know, it's good.
My number 4 goes to, this is more for like the promotional side, the marketing side, and the company side. If you're trying to create your own film and television company, marketing company, anything like that, I'm talking about Canva. Canva is fantastic because they have so many different templates on there, and you don't even really have to pay for them. Of course, they do have a paid version that we do take advantage of. So there is a lot of things that you do get exposed to and are able to use. And I mean, it's only like $15 a month, so it's not horrible at all. But yeah, Canva really helps a lot when it comes to marketing. I mean, whether that be new merchandise, whether that be promotion for the podcast, or anything like that. So it really helps out a lot. And especially when coming up with your own style of things for like poster designs, for movie posters, or, styles of merchandise designs and all of these different things. So yeah, I mean, we've been enjoying the hell out of it, and we've been using it for probably about 3 years. We didn't even use it for the first initial, couple years that we were incorporated as a company. But once we found that, it helped us a lot. So yeah, number 4 for me, Canva.
Yeah, because it's very user friendly. Right? Like you can just put in your brand colors, and then you have an idea maybe, but you're not real sure how to put the idea together, and it has templates. So, and then what I like is, because so often you get this software type stuff where it has templates and you can't manipulate the template. Right? It's like you have to stay within the... Canva's great at, it has a template, but then you can manipulate it. You can add something, take something away, change a color. So, yeah, it's really awesome. I'm glad you put it on
remember, like, when we used to try to get the background off of images and things like that? We used to have to drop it into Photoshop or freaking... all of these other things. We had a specific website that would take off the background.
Yep.
Like now it's just super freaking easy.
Oh yeah, without doubt. All right, my number 3, it's you have to have them. You have to have them. And I'm old, so I'm old school. I remember literally when you could only get the trades at the newsstand, or you had to have a subscription where it was mailed to you. Actual magazines, guys, actual trades. Now they're all online, right? So the access to them has changed drastically over the years. But my number 3 is the trades, because they are still the go-to source for everything that is happening in the industry. All the entertainment stories, all the deals, all the business side of it, all the talent side of it, the premieres, everything that is happening in the industry or is going to happen, things that are in the works, they're all reported on in the trades first. And I know what you're thinking. Well, what about IMDb? The industry news section of IMDb, it's all trade stories. They're all stories from the trades. It's all about the trades. I wish, and I think about it all the time, about just signing up for the subscription and still getting the paper. Because I like to have the trade. It's just because I'm old school and I feel like that's how it was done. If you watch all the old movies or you see anything about old Hollywood, you see them with the trades. You see the Variety cover on the wall with their movie and stuff, because it was a big deal. If you were on the cover of Variety, it was a huge deal. And you only had a handful of that. It was Variety and the Hollywood Reporter, but basically Variety's like the granddaddy of them all, the one that you wanted to be like in. And it's changed a little bit. They used to be Variety Daily. Now it's just weekly, right? So the website updates daily, but the magazine, if you were still it's a weekly magazine now. It's not a daily trade like it used to be, which I think is sad, because I used to love the daily trade. And for a while I did have the subscription, and I would get it was exciting every day to get the new Variety. But yeah, so listen, guys, if you are trying to break into the industry, it's an absolute must to have. You should be subscribing to all the trades. You should be reading them every morning, because everything you need to know about what's happening is right there for you daily. It is an absolute tool that you must utilize, because, if you're not utilizing it, you might be behind the ball on what's going on. You might think you're ahead of the game, but you're not, because you miss this or you miss that. So I highly recommend getting into the habit of, it's on my we write everything down. I have a calendar. I have an agenda every day, a daily to-do list. It's literally wake up, meditate, exercise, read trades. It's like right there on the morning to-do list. Read trades. So yeah, my number 3, the trades.
There we go, man. There we go. Number 3 for me goes to bnhvideo.com. Now, if you don't know what this is a big website, especially for behind the scenes people. You can buy the latest and greatest cameras on there, cinema cameras, camcorders, photography cameras, anything like that. And it goes for anything. I mean, you can have products that are as cheap as the cheap or as expensive as the expensive. Like, this thing is the one-stop shop when it comes to videography, DSLRs, like all of these different things. So it's very important to keep browsing this thing when you're trying to break into the entertainment industry, especially if you want to be a cinematographer or a director or, any of these different things, because they have a lot of valuable tools that will help you in the long run. And there's a lot of training stuff too. You don't have to buy the Big Mac Daddy if you don't know how to use the Big Mac Daddy.
Yeah, it's a
you can
process.
Start off with something small. Yeah. It's so nice too, because they have a clearance section, they have a refurbished section. So you kind of have, depending on your funds and how much you're willing to spend, you have different options on about how you want to approach it and get into the film industry. I think it's a very fun website. I love going on there every week basically to see what the possibilities are. But yeah, especially if we want to get your hands on a cinema camera, this is the website to go to. So bnhvideo.com for my number 3.
Awesome. And I love that they have a refurbished section, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the one of the cameras I have the most fun shooting on is one of my old school 8mm, right? To pick it up at a pawn shop, right? So a refurbished section is basically a pawn shop online with It's like, and that's awesome to be able to do that stuff, because I like what you said about starting with You know, if you don't know what you're doing, you don't want to have a high-end expensive camera and then fuck it up.
Yeah,
just
you don't
start
wanna break
off
it.
on an old school refurbished camera and learn to work your way up to the biggie. So yeah. My number 2, and the peanut. My number 2 is peanut. You have to have
Yeah,
a
right.
peanut to be successful. Yes.
Exactly.
Hey, booty. Oh, I saw you look. You heard Gramps, huh? It's a family business, y'all, and Peanut is the family pup. He is a family
Right.
pup. Hey, booty. All right. My number 2 and your number 2 is entertainment partners / movie magic. And the reason I put / entertainment partners is in there is because they also, with the Wright brothers, they do budgeting and they do scheduling and these tools. Now, there's some stuff out there. There's Final Draft, and there's Gorilla, and there's a few different ones. But for me, I think the most user-friendly and the most standard that we see is the Movie Magic and Entertainment Partners. You can import Final Draft into them. You can import, so it's just. But if you don't have this, you're in trouble. If you're writing scripts, if you're trying to develop a budget, if you're trying to figure out locations and plan, if you're doing a breakdown, you need this software. It used to be done by hand, y'all. It used to be done by hand, but this software makes it infinitely more easy and user-friendly. I highly recommend that if you want to be on the producing side of it, especially. I mean, great if you're a creative and you're writing also, but if you are on the producing side of it and you are indeed breaking down a script and scheduling and trying to budget, you absolutely need this software. So there it is, my number 2, and my explanation for why it's my number 2, because I can't imagine writing without it. It's so user-friendly when you're writing. It's just unreal. And the way you can if you use the tools properly on the budgets, it adds all your taxes into it. It adds the union fees into it. It's just very user-friendly software that's updated consistently, so you're never behind, and I can't say enough about it, man.
Yeah, and I mean that's why I put it on there too, because I mean, yeah, the user friendly, the interface is so nice, and I mean, even when you have a question about something, you can just YouTube something really quick. I know you can do that with a lot of things, but this software in particular, it makes it to where like you only have to click 2 different buttons. You just really have to find where they have things formulated.
Yep.
But I mean, for first time screenwriters, it's amazing. Like I love it so freaking much, and I mean. There of course there's other things to say about, like you said, the other ones like Final Draft and Gorilla and things like that. But I mean, this is just the one we have, and it's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, number 2 for both of us, Movie Magic.
Yeah, and for any aspiring screenwriters out there, we want to emphasize this because if you do get permission to send your script, by the way, you can't just send them; they'll mail it right the fuck back to you. But if you get permission to have it sent, it has to be formatted properly. Now, Movie Magic can't help you with making sure it's on the right paper and you have the right size brads and it's hole punched correctly or not. You got to look that up to figure out. But it can make sure that it is formatted properly within the right margins, using the right text, etc. Because guys, the readers, if they open up the script and it is not formatted properly and not in the proper margin or not binded correctly, they put it right back and mail it right back to you.
Yep.
It is critical that you use one of these softwares, Movie Magic, Final Draft stuff, to make sure that you have it formatted properly. That's just our piece of advice to you, because when I first started out and I was doing it, I got sent back. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why are they sending it back? And I had to learn, I better get the software. You can't just type it up in Word and send it off. Fuck. It's critical to have this software. Number 1, this should come to no surprise for anybody that this is both of our number 1s, and you hear us talk about it all the time. We have it at the end of the show all the time.
We have our own segment about it.
Yeah, our own segment about it. We refer to it as, and so does everybody else in the industry, it is the Bible of the industry, IMDb. It is the go-to definitive source for everything related to the entertainment industry, and if you are not on it, you don't exist. Period. This is the first place everybody goes to validate you, to verify you. If you are reaching out to an actor, if a studio is looking you up to potentially hire you as a director, if a casting director wants to see what you've done IMDb is where everybody goes. And if you're not on there and they can't find you, well, then you don't exist. Period. I can't think of any other way to say it. It is that important of a tool. It is that vital to have. And I know people are going to say, oh, this sucks. But you should be paying the monthly fee. Because if you don't have a picture, you're on it, but you're not really on it, are you? You got to go all in. If this is your career and you're serious about making this your career, this is an absolute must-have, and you should be paying the monthly fee for it to make sure that you have full access to everything. A casting director's not going to want to go to IMDb to look at what you've done and not see your face. You gotta have your picture up there. I'm just saying, And for anybody who doesn't know, if you don't maintain the monthly fee, then your picture comes down and it's just a blank square. And I'm just saying. I know you probably got a ton of stuff to say about it too, but yeah, it's just I can't emphasize enough how critically important this is.
No, yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Just trying to figure it all out. And while you were talking, I found the CEO of IMDb, and I'm going to email him and try to get him on the show. I think that would be pretty freaking cool. Because, it changed the entertainment industry.
And maybe the creator.
Yeah.
That would be awesome, too.
Yeah,
because
for
I
sure. He is the creator. It's the same person.
Oh, did he? Because so they kept him on. Because to be fair, IMDb was completely, totally a separate thing, and then Amazon bought it. Amazon acquired it, guys. Hence why it's been all integrated into it. Back when I first started using it, it was strictly just a website, and it wasn't anywhere near as extensive. But yet, 25, 30 years, oh my God, 30 years ago. 30 years ago, it was still the go-to. You had to have it 30 years ago. Amazon saw the value in it because they bought it up. So, but yeah, he'd be awesome to talk to because this guy is like we need a source. We need a source of everything you can find, all the favorite movies, all the favorite TV shows, all your favorite actors. The most critical tool in this, though, and I know you'll agree with me, is access. We were talking about it a little bit with social media, but this is the contact list, guys. This is the networking tool that's absolutely necessary. If you're looking for managers, if you're looking for publicists, if you're looking for heads of studios, if you're looking for talent agents, if you're looking for direct contact to actors, it's all on IMDb Pro. It's all right there. So, just cannot emphasize enough how valuable this tool is. And what a brilliant move by this guy. What a brilliant move. Yeah.
Completely agree, man. Completely agree. But yes, that is our top 5 entertainment tools. Please be sure to take advantage of all of them. If you have another one that we don't know about, please be sure to let us know.
Yeah.
Because we're all about learning and continuing moving forward. I mean, that's a whole reason we're here. I think it's a big thing in the entertainment industry, helping each other grow. That is for sure. But heading over to the box office recap, Alien Romulus, we knew this was going to happen. They came in at number 1 with 42 million domestically. And I mean, I think it went, what was it? Did it go over 100 million for
global? Yeah, global. Yeah.
Which was surprising. And I tweeted about it that it was more popular overseas than it was here.
Yeah.
Which is a very interesting anecdote.
It's a great movie, though.
Yeah, exactly. Number 2 was Deadpool and Wolverine with 29 million. Number 3 was It Ends With Us for 24 million. Number 4 was Twisters, still hanging on with about 10 million, 9.8. And number 5 was Caroline with $8.4 million. New movies coming out this weekend are The Crow with Bill Skarsgård. Should have never done that. The Blink Twice film, Greedy People, Strange Darling, and The Forge. And, of course, movies you could still go see. Borderlands, Long Legs, which is now the highest-grossing indie film of 2024, made over $100 million. So congratulations to them. Despicable Me, and then, of course, Inside Out 2, and a couple of others in select theaters near you.
I will say that it's definitely evident that the summer is coming to a close because the massive box office that we've seen over the last few weeks, not going to happen this weekend, guys. Apparently, the Thursday night previews for The Crow was $600,000, and Blink Twice was only $800,000. So you're looking probably somewhere around $8 million to $10 million opening weekends for those, maybe a little bit more. That's a vast difference from the 200 millions and the 100 millions that we've been seeing. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not surprised at all by The Crow only making 600,000 on Thursday night, but nobody wants to see this reboot. That's a classic.
Well, and I mean, they haven't marketed it until it was time to come out.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't heard anything about it until now since we announced it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and we've already talked about Blink Twice and the controversy and how that might be scaring people away. So to make 800,000 was probably pretty good for them after all the trigger warnings and stuff. So, but we'll keep an eye on it. I don't think it's going to be a very big box office this week for sure.
Yeah, it looks like. I mean, it doesn't. The next big movie that's going to come out is in September. Beetlejuice on September 6th. And I mean, I don't see that cracking $100 million. So I mean,
maybe isn't that September 6th? Isn't that around Labor Day? Won't it benefit from the Labor Day weekend?
I don't know. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting because I don't know of any other films. Let's see, Labor Day 2024, September 2nd. So the weekend after.
But so yeah.
It's
that time of year. It's that time of year where it dies until the holiday season when all the big stuff's released again. November and December and going into Oscar season is when we'll see all the big stuff released again, right? So
yeah,
I kind of like that we started off the summer season with Keaton and we're gonna end it with Keaton.
There you go.
Right? Like we're seeing Keaton everywhere and I'm fucking loving it. I just, I love it. All right.
Funny. Well, heading over to the IMDb Pros top trending segment. The top trending movie is still Deadpool and Wolverine. That makes sense.
Totally.
The top trending TV show is The Umbrella Academy, them gearing back up. I don't know if they came out this week, but I know they're coming out soon with that next season. And the top trending star is Rachel Ziegler.
Yeah.
So that is very
And I don't know if that's from the trailer release from D23 for Snow White or if she's got something else that But if you look at IMDb Pro, you can find out.
You will know.
But I would assume it's because of all the feedback from the Snow White trailer. Yeah. So right. I mean, but it makes sense.
It does. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for getting crazy with us on a 269 of ITCAF podcast. We got to thank you all for listening to the podcast. Of course, you can follow us anywhere and everywhere on social media. The company is at Crazy Ant Media. The podcast is at ITCAFpodcast. Our mental health podcast is at Everything's OKP on social media. A new episode out with trauma, so be sure to check that one out. And then you guys know you can follow us both personally on social media. Myself at Logan Austin and
at Crazy Ant CEO.
That's right, buddy. And you guys know you can subscribe to this podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, and so much more. If you're watching this video on YouTube, we appreciate you. Be sure to hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for all the latest and greatest notifications coming out of Crazy Ant Media. And then, of course, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can find anything and everything you need to know about myself, Dustin, anyone else that we have here at Crazy Ant Media, and any other interests that you have in our company. We have all of our projects listed, the podcasts, and so many different things. So be sure to head over there and check that out, man. We're looking for an intern. So if you're interested in being an intern here at Crazy Ant Media, be sure to email us. There's a nice little email bar on our website, so that'll be a whole lot of fun. But man, oh man, what an episode. I mean, it was a lot of business this week.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's fun to talk about the business because a lot of business decisions are either like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, or they're like, what the fuck are you doing? So I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, listen, we talk about it all the time. The industry is made up of suits and creatives, and neither exists without the other. So sometimes we have to talk about the suits because this doesn't happen without them. I'm both excited and nervous for the future of Disney. I really think they need to make this decision right this time. Because I don't think they're going to be able to drag Iger back this time if it doesn't work. They need to make sure. And like I said, we're passionate about what we do. We are filmmakers. We love this industry. It's all consuming for us. We're all in. So it's all about legacy. and where it comes from and where it's going. So to have the ability to talk about that every so often, that's real. That gets me fired up and excited, because we do respect where the industry started and where it's going, and legacy is important. And we use bigger than the mouse all the time, because we that's how we feel about Disney and its stature in the entertainment industry and what it means to the entertainment industry. It's it sounds derogatory, like bigger than the mouse, we're gonna crush the mouse, blah blah. But it's not. It's a sign of respect for where they've come from and who they are and what we wish to emulate and be. So it really is that kind of a thing. So I love talking about that stuff. And then of course controversy. Who doesn't want to jump into blink twice? Who doesn't want to talk about some crazy shit? Like, I mean, that's always fun too.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Well, if you watched the DNC this
Yes.
past week, you saw the one and only was there, leaving her imprint, that's for sure, doing her famous,
She had them fired up.
Getting them fired up, man. We're super excited about it. Political Anxiety Part 2 coming soon. We're super excited about it. But you guys know we love the one, the only
Oprah.